Bend Around the Wind by Skylia. Chapter 61, Divided Loyalties. When Tony left the stage, they all turned and headed inside the building. Natasha's phone was ringing even before they made it to the lounge. She picked it up and started talking, most likely to Fury. Steve just kept walking forward, dozens of questions running through his head. He was glad, obviously. Stark was alive. He returned. He learned in recent years, though, that miraculous returns were not always happy reunions, so we couldn't help but feel just a little bit of guardedness. It was obvious that Stark was back for some time now, and the fact that he did not contact any of them spoke volumes. Well, Steve did have an idea why he wanted such a public return, but he didn't want to jump to any conclusions yet. He would have to ask him all these questions personally. He hoped the answers would be satisfactory. "Hold on." Natasha spoke up louder, and they all stopped to look at her. "I'll put you on speaker," she said to the phone.
"Was that really Tony Stark?"
Fury's voice sounded from the other end.
"Sure looked like him," Steve said. "No, look like him is not enough. I want proof. Did you know about this, Rogers?"
"I don't answer to you," Steve said instead of answering, and headed further inside. Bruce followed him. He made it clear dozens of times that Fury couldn't just demand answers like this. Natasha brought the phone back to her ear, most likely listening to instructions, and Steve was just about to ask Bruce when it was best to start looking for Stark when one of the elevators opened and Pepper's assistant Patricia walked out of it. "Mr. Stark is about to give an interview, so he cannot meet you right now," she said, clearly knowing whom they were looking for. "Miss Potts suggests you return to the Avengers levels, where you can watch the broadcast." She stepped out of the way to leave the elevator for them.
"We're probably going to hear some answers from that," Bruce said.
"Yeah, the official public answers," Clint said. "Not sure how close to the truth it's going to be."
"Well, it's not like we could drag him out of there and ask our questions," Steve said as he headed towards the elevator. "We might as well wait for him." Natasha put away her phone before she stepped inside after them. "Fury's right about needing to make sure it's really him," she said.
"I doubt some imposter would be able to fool Pepper,"
Steve answered. "Unless she found him herself," Natasha said.
"Is that what Fury thinks?" Steve frowned at her. "That Pepper found some Tony lookalike? Don't be ridiculous."
"We're just considering all options."
"I could very well tell you to leave," Steve warned firmly. "The only reason you and Clint still have Avenger status and access to the tower is because you promised Fury would be kept out of our business. You are really not holding up your end of the deal."
"This is not Avengers business," she said. "This concerns S.H.I.E.L.D. as well."
"How about we stop fighting for 5 minutes?" Clint interrupted. "Fury is going to want to know stuff, and Tasha's right. Stark's return is not strictly Avengers business. It concerns the whole world, so Fury needs to be informed too. There."
"I agree," Bruce said, "but he can very well wait until we talked to Tony."
"Fine," Natasha nodded. Steve wanted to sigh, but he nodded as well, agreeing. He was tired of fighting with S.H.I.E.L.D. every step of the way, but backing up would mean handing control back to Fury, and he couldn't allow that. Fury proved that he was unafraid of crossing lines that were not to be crossed. Steve was responsible for all of the Avengers, and not just himself. They had to keep their autonomy, and if it meant fighting with Fury at least once a week, then so be it.
"Has the interview started yet, Jarvis?"
Steve asked the second he stepped out of the elevator. "Any moment now, Captain Rogers," the AI replied. Clint flopped down to the couch in front of the enormous TV that, of course, had Tony Stark is alive as its big breaking news on it. Bruce sat down next to him. Steve decided to stay standing, and Natasha moved to the side too, her back to the wall, where she could see the whole room.
"Hey, Jarvis," Clint spoke up then. "You checked if it's really Tony, right?"
"Of course, Agent Barton," Jarvis answered. "I ran the primary scans, but since then, Mr. Stark's identity has also been confirmed here at Stark Industries for the shareholders' benefit. His signature, fingerprints, irises, and even his DNA matches. He is without a doubt Anthony Edward Stark."
"Okay, that was thorough," Bruce nodded. "I think we can be certain."
"How do you explain the way he looks, then?" Natasha asked.
"Makeup?"
Clint asked. "No, he is visibly younger. That was Fury's first question, too. How can a man show up almost 6 years later looking younger than before he vanished?" "If it would help with your doubts, Agent Romanov," Jarvis spoke up again, "I have been given permission to inform you that the secondary examination proved that the arc reactor in his chest is the exact same piece Mr. Stark had at the time of his disappearance. In addition, the metal shrapnel around his heart are in the exact same positions as well."
"Yeah, that's definitely impossible to fake,"
Bruce said. Who knows where he was? Clint said. Looking younger could have been caused by anything. Advanced technology, magic, who the heck knows? We've seen plenty of weird stuff in the past years. This doesn't even register for me. Mr. Stark's interview is starting, Jarvis informed them, and the TV screen switched to a different channel right away. And there was Tony still wearing his armor, but he did not look uncomfortable in it at all. He looked young and healthy and way too pleased with himself. Well, this is gonna be good, Clint said. Steve couldn't help but agree. Tony Stark, the reporter said. She was Mari Harcrow. She got quite famous in recent years for her political interviews. She was notoriously an Avengers supporter. When I was contacted, I expected an exclusive interview with Pepper Potts about her mysterious and highly anticipated announcement. But instead, here you are. Here I am, Tony smiled. Back from the dead again. Rising up from the ashes. Is that what you called it last time? Does that apply here as well? Oh, yes, it definitely applies, Tony answered. Don't think me shallow, but you look better than ever, Miss Harcrow said. Well, 5+ years without alcohol, coffee, and fast food, Tony said pleasantly. Instead, 100% filtered air, clean filtered water, and tasteless, nutritious, way too healthy food. It works wonders. The reporter did not push for more answers about it. I need to ask the questions all of our viewers are dying to know. What happened? Well, surprisingly, the official story is quite accurate. Tony started. I was abducted, and it did have something to do with the Battle of New York. There were a lot of rumors about how the two events were connected. Could you clear this up now? I was taken. Tony started, his tone turning more serious, but not by those who actually invaded us, but by the orders of those who were behind the attack. Was it revenge? The reporter asked. In a way. Tony evaded the answer. Who were they? Call him a crazy warlord, Tony said. It's the most apt description I can use. Same thing, only bigger, private armies, delusional ideals, no mercy. You either bow down and obey, or you die. Those are the only options he gives you. You didn't either. I escaped, Tony said. From where? I was in a very dark and very dangerous corner of the universe, in prison for way too long. I will spare the gruesome details because I know probably kids are watching this right now, but it was no cave in Afghanistan. It was much worse. The universe? You were taken to another planet then? Another galaxy, actually, Tony said. A galaxy very far away from here. How did you escape then? How did you get home? I assume there was no rescue mission. As much as I value the technological development of humanity, Earth lacks some essentials to be able to travel that far. I escaped and returned with the help of a fellow prisoner, the one I shared a cell with. And to the question of how, well, I flew home, of course, grabbed a ship and headed home. A spaceship? You took a spaceship and flew home? There weren't too many other options in that situation. There's just no taking you down, Miss Harcrow said, impressed. No, they can try as many times as they want. I won't bow down and I won't break. I refused to give them what they wanted. So you were on your way home all this time, or did you escape recently? I've escaped some time ago, but the journey took some time. I didn't have the fastest ship, but beggars can't be choosers and all that. Tony Stark, space adventurer, Miss Harcrow said. You can add it to your resume. Yes, genius, billionaire, spaceship commander. It does have a nice ring to it. The ones who have taken you, are they still after you? There's a possibility, yes. Tony nodded, but I'm prepared, and I won't be taken by surprise again. This prisoner who helped you, I assume, is not a human, right? No, he's not, Tony said, and he was not the only one who helped me on my way home. I don't want people to think that there are only horrible alien armies in space who are out to destroy us. There are amazing races, incredible cultures, and technology beyond your wildest imagination. Not all races have slave armies under the lead of a crazy warlord. There are people out there, families, merchants, mechanics, and law enforcement. There were thousands of worlds, empires older than humanity, cities covering entire planets, and just like here on Earth, there's good and bad, beautiful and ugly, and everything in between. You've made allies, is that what you're saying? I made friends, very good friends, Tony said. But yes, allies for Earth as well, and more. More? Technology, Tony said simply. Last time I returned, I gave the world Iron Man and the arc reactor. This time, I intend to give the world even more. Stark Industries is going to make this planet better and safer, not just for us, but for future generations as well. Alien technology? I don't like the word alien, Tony said, because it implies something strange and foreign and unknown. It's advanced technology from all across the universe from different races.
Are you going to expand your influence in the energy market, or is your company taking a new direction?
Providing clean energy is going to stay one of our main focuses. The arc reactor technology has already revolutionized the market, but it is also mainly for large investors. Now I intend to make new solar technology available for everyone. A new advanced version of solar panels that are going to make the ones we use now look like they're from a high school science fair.
Sounds intriguing.
The second big project we're starting is going to induce advanced air and water filtering systems. 100% clean water without the overly complicated process of filtration, sedimentation, and distillation. Also, there will be no need for additional chemicals. I also intend to donate quite a lot from these so that they can be installed in places where clean water is still a luxury, because that's unacceptable. I can't have that on my planet.
And the air filtering system?
I'm sure NASA will be interested because this technology is used on spaceships primarily, but my idea is to use them in the most polluted metropolises. I've seen what happens to planets when the ozone shield gives out. It's not pretty.
So in other words, you want to get rid of some of the direst global issues on the planet. You plan to end world hunger too.
One step at a time, Tony said with a smile. Let's stick with these for now.
Still ambitious,
Miss Harcrow said. So was achieving world peace, but I did it anyway. Well, looks like that didn't last in the past years, but mice play when the cat's away. I'm sure things will change very soon.
Is that all the technology you brought home with you?
Tony smiled. Not quite. But like I said, we need to move forward one step at a time. I do plan to introduce other inventions eventually.
I know our time is almost up, so my last question is again, something that is important for all of us. The ones who orchestrated the attack on Earth, the ones who have taken you, are we safe from them? Will they come back here?
If they do, if they ever try to set foot on this planet again, we will be ready and we will stop them. I guarantee you.
You and the Avengers?
Hopefully the Avengers too.
Tony smiled pleasantly. The screen went back to the news channel studio right away, cutting off the live feed from the Avengers Tower.
Wow! Clint said as soon as it was over.
Yeah!
Bruce agreed.
Oh, another galaxy?
Clint said.
Did I hear that right? Did this guy really escape from some space prison and flew back here with a spaceship?
Sounds like it, Steve said.
This is freaking unbelievable, even for Stark,
Clint said.
You know, even the closest dwarf galaxy is 25,000 light years away,
Bruce said.
So there either was some sort of a portal involved in this journey, or that ship he talked about can go way faster than light.
You mean he has some sort of an awesome Star Wars spaceship, and he still talked about water filtering instead?
Clint asked. He probably doesn't want to build spaceships,
Steve said. Not sure humanity is ready for such spaceships, Bruce said. We're in no position to go searching for trouble.
We're getting ahead of ourselves, Natasha said. We need to talk to Stark.
Yes, we do, Steve agreed. About his escape and these allies he made.
Yeah, that's another thing, casually dropping the bomb of alien friends like that,
Clint said.
He wanted the information out there, but he obviously didn't want people to focus on it too much,
Bruce said. Thor will want to know what happened to Loki, Steve said then.
He didn't know whether Asgard was paying attention right now or not, but as soon as Thor got wind of Stark being back, he would come down here and ask about his brother. The last Thor seen of him was the security footage from the tower's top level, and even Steve was willing to admit that the way Loki was dragged away was anything but pretty. Up until that point, Thor believed that his brother escaped his prison with the help of others, but after seeing that video, it became quite clear immediately that he was very much not a willing participant. Steve caught Thor staring at the huge dark stain of dried blood on the carpet of Stark's bedroom a few times. It's hard to support someone when the one they're concerned about was an enemy, but Steve tried anyway. I hope he's dead, Clint said darkly.
Even if he is, Thor will want to know. Tony definitely knows more than we do,
Steve said. He didn't know whether he should hope for Loki's death. Thor wouldn't take that one well, even if it would give him closure, finally.
Jarvis, is Tony on his way here?
Bruce asked. No, Dr. Banner, Jarvis answered. Mr. Stark is currently in a meeting with the board of directors. Are you kidding me?
Clint groaned. When is he coming here?
Steve asked. There was a pause, and Steve hoped Jarvis was asking Tony or Pepper. Mr. Stark asked me to inform you that he is unavailable right now, and that there is no further information he wishes to share with S.H.I.E.L.D. at the moment. Oh boy, Bruce sighed.
Looks like Pepper definitely updated him,
Clint said, not bothered by the news at all.
Fury will want answers anyway,
Natasha said.
Fury is going to wait, Steve said. Bruce, what do you think?
I think he's being careful, Bruce said. He has the world's biggest spotlight on him. It's the safest place from shady organizations.
The public has always been on his side, Clint added. And you heard what he said. He wants to give clean air and clean water to everyone. Want to guess how much the world loves him right now?
If he really has so much advanced technology in his possession, it's understandable why he would want to keep his distance with the government and S.H.I.E.L.D.,
Bruce said. Especially S.H.I.E.L.D.,
Steve said. Maybe it's more than that, Natasha said. He said he made friends and that he's the commander of a spaceship. A ship usually has a crew and not just a captain.
You think he actually brought some of those friends with him? Clint asked.
Maybe, Natasha shrugged. Unknown alien life forms are considered a threat by S.H.I.E.L.D.'s standards and would need to be monitored to the very least, if not more. Stark would know that, so that could be another possible reason why he would want to keep us in the dark.
Well, whether it's just technology or actual people, Bruce said as he rubbed the corner of his eye, Tony definitely won't let S.H.I.E.L.D. anywhere close, not if Pepper told him everything Fury's been doing.
It's probably time for you to go, Steve said, turning to Natasha. He did not bother to look at Clint, too. He almost wouldn't mind him staying. But Natasha's loyalty was firmly on S.H.I.E.L.D.'s side, so she would share information with Fury no matter what.
It's reckless of you to shut S.H.I.E.L.D. out right at the start,
Natasha said. S.H.I.E.L.D. lost the right to be included, Steve shot back. Natasha was about to open her mouth again when Clint groaned and stood up. For pity's sake, let's just leave. Fury can go ahead and hunt Stark down if he wants to. I sure won't be running around after him.
Let us know if there's trouble,
Natasha said as they headed out. Catch you guys later, Clint said as he followed her. Update me, Bruce.
Sure, see you later.
Steve only sat down on the couch next to Bruce after the elevator closed. He felt like a puppet whose strings had been cut.
You snapped at Natasha more than usual,
Bruce commented. I'm always edgy when the team's scattered, Steve answered.
Should we call the others?
Bruce asked. They're going to be back soon anyway. Steve shook his head. What are we going to do about Stark?
I could talk to him, Bruce said. He doesn't want S.H.I.E.L.D. around, but I'm not S.H.I.E.L.D. Well, you're not S.H.I.E.L.D. either, obviously, but you were the last time you two met, so even if Pepper told him...
No, you're right. We don't know each other well enough. We barely made peace with one another before he was taken. I doubt he would be up for a chat with me.
I can explain everything to him, Bruce said. Pepper knows a lot, but maybe she didn't have time to explain everything in detail, and she wasn't involved all the time. Once Tony knows about the line you drew in the sand, I'm sure he would be up for that chat.
It's a good idea. Steve nodded. He actually likes you. Bruce chuckled quietly.
Jarvis, please let Tony know that I would like to talk with him in private, he said then.
Mr. Stark suggests you to accompany him back to his Malibu residence, Jarvis answered a few long moments later.
Oh? Is that where he's been staying?
Indeed, Dr. Banner, Jarvis said.
Okay, I better start packing then, I suppose, Bruce said as he stood up. You could probably come over to California after a few days pass, once I cleared things up with Tony. Talk to him about the Avengers personally.
Sounds like an idea, Steve nodded. I will talk with everyone in the meantime.
We're going to have to deal with Fury eventually, you know. I mean, he's more of Tony's problems at the moment. But if he's coming back to the Avengers...
I know, let's just focus on one thing at a time, Steve said. Go with him, get the full story. Maybe he will even let you know what technology he wants to keep away from S.H.I.E.L.D. so much. And see if he has any alien... new friends with him.
This is starting to feel like a mission instead of a friendly chat.
Well, you're the one Stark is definitely willing to talk to, so we are gonna make the best out of it.
Sure thing, Cap,
Bruce said then as he headed out. And don't forget to ask him about Loki, Steve called after him. It was best if they figured out what happened to him before Thor returned.
As if I could forget,
Bruce called back. Steve stayed on the couch, turning his attention back to the TV. The news was still about Tony Stark and his big return. Jarvis put the sound back on, he asked, and leaned back once the voice of the reporters filled the room. He just wanted to think for a bit. This was all turning into a mess already. Dealing with Fury was one thing. Stark's return was either going to make it easier or very much harder. At least Steve wouldn't have to ask him to pick sides like he had to do with every single team member. Of course, it was more the core group that was forced to split up, but their second tier was also not unaffected. He just hoped the relative peace they had with S.H.I.E.L.D. was possible to keep. He did not like Fury or his methods, but once in a while they needed to put aside their differences and work together. His phone rang then, and it took him some time to get it out of his pocket. It was one of the custom smartphones that Pepper gave them all. Steve still did not know how to use all the applications on it because he simply did not need them, but at least he could text and use it as a phone. He was surprised when he noticed the name on the display but took the call immediately.
Aren't you supposed to be on your way to Chile right now? He asked right away. No, hello? Rude. Sorry, stressful evening.
Steve sighed.
Yeah, I know. I was watching the news. Your shock face was hilarious. So, I will meet the big Tony Stark after all. It looks like you will when you get back. I'm heading back right now. What? Boy, something happened?
Yes, I was watching the news, so I'm coming back.
It's not necessary, Steve said.
Oh, shut it. I'm already on my way.
Thanks, Bucky. Anytime. Fury is all over him already, right?
Tried to be.
Stark's good at dealing with him, so is Pepper. But I had to argue with Natasha, of course.
You know why she can't allow herself to double-cross Fury.
It's not about double-crossing anyone. It's about loyalty, and if she simply turns her back on S.H.I.E.L.D., it's like she's back in the old days. Give her some slack.
Steve sighed.
That's why you need to be here to deal with her. Good to know what I'm good for.
Bucky laughed.
Well, keep the stupidity low while I get back.
Bucky said,
I should be there in a few days. You're the one who's bringing the stupidity back.
Steve replied automatically.
Maybe I will have to travel to California. I'll let you know in time.
Fine, see you then. And hold the fort, Captain, my captain.
Bucky shouldn't be allowed to watch movies.
Fly safe, Steve said, but he was smiling as he hung up. He should be calling everyone right about now, but he figured it could wait until Bruce left, and he cleared his head a bit and thought about all of this some more, and until it was not in the middle of the night in other parts of the world. He was glad about this, really he was, but he couldn't help but think about just how complicated their lives turned again all of a sudden.